Hey, y'all, what's up? Today we are going to talk about special education in an inclusive classroom setting. How do I do it? What strategies do I use in the realistic, everyday classrooms of today? Let's get into it. Okay, first, let's talk about instruction. What does instruction look like for special education students? Now, the tips and strategies and stuff that I'm giving you can be used across all students. They benefit all students. The research backs it up for all students. My personal experience backs it up for all students, not just students who have special education services. Okay, the first thing that we want to do when we're talking about instruction is when you're making your worksheets, you're making your lessons, the stuff that is getting pushed out to the whole class. You need to know what accommodations or modifications that you have in your class, and your master copy needs to have all the stuff on there. For example, for your lessons, whether they're on the board or something that through like Canvas that you push out through to all the students, an extension like Mote to read the directions on the page, less designy, pretty stuff in the background, very simple. On your worksheets and on your slides, word banks, highlighting vocab words and then providing those definitions. In my video that I have about how to chunk an assignment, where in real time we go through and how to take an article and turn it into a chunked assignment, is the vocab words are on the side of the article. Having the vocab words are important. If the assignment needs to be chunked, putting it in the table format, because that chunks the assignment. If you have students who have a modified assignment in the sense that they can only answer 60% of the worksheet, then for 60% of the questions, they need to be in green. And I need this, and this student only to answer green. Everyone else answer the full paper. Pick the questions that most measure their mastery and have them do that. You have to think that when you're coming up with your worksheets or when you're adjusting the worksheets that are given to you, if you're in one of those districts that gives you all the materials, that's what you have to think about. But you have to know what accommodations and modifications that you have first in order to be thinking about what you do from that lens. The ones that I use, anything that is reading is chunked in the table format. I'll link that video wherever it is that it goes. But any article is chunked in that format. I have the definitions highlighted and pulled out. Not every single time. Most of the time I have a word bank. If I'm asking them to fill in a blank, then there's a word bank. If it's a guided notes type of section, I'm giving them the notes. Yes, I have it on the board and the whole class is going through it like we usually do, but they also have my pre-filled out notes in front of them as well. Those are the ones that I use in terms of instruction. Now, when I'm up there teaching, I'm going through the stuff, I'm giving the lesson. I'm making sure that when I'm delivering what I'm saying this, it has some type of visual representation on what I'm saying as well. If I'm going through something where there's no visual representation, I need to follow up with a video or something like that. Two modes. Now, I'm not saying that you need to spend 20 minutes teaching, then go back and then spend 20 minutes doing visuals. Do you have pictures on your slides? Are there video clips that you have popping up? Or is it like I said, where I'm going through the concept and then the summary is the visualization on the board? Make sure that you're doing that in at least those two different modes. When I'm asking for them to turn in assignments, if one of their goals is about handwriting legibility, then I'm giving them the option to hand it to me digitally. I'm not saying that, I have to give them the option to draw. Depending on what grade you are and what skills that you're trying to build, that might not be what's most efficient, most effective for right then. Your handwriting's bad. Another goal we have is like with spelling and stuff that's really bad, and that can get in the way of them answering the question because they're worried about, they know the stuff, but they're hooked on the mechanics. Take the mechanics part out. You can do it like you can write it digitally. If someone has to do it orally and then have the computer scribe, that's digitally, or have it orally and then have me as the teacher have my rubric sitting beside me and I'm grading you, or I'm giving you your check marks, however it is that you assess it based on what you're orally telling me, that's fine. And a question I get is, well, how do they have, if I don't give them back the assignment, give them the rubric. You put it in the grade book because you don't need it. You put it in the grade book, give them the rubric, and that's the physical representation they have of the assignment and the check marks or the points that they did or did not get. Okay? So when we're talking about instruction, you need to know what your accommodations and modifications are. 2, set up your lessons and worksheets, your master copies with all of the stuff on there. Each student gets the chunked article with the definitions pulled out with the word bank on the bottom and the comprehension question. Each student gets that whole sheet. Okay? Each kid gets it. Each kid gets the PowerPoint that they have to do that you done pushed out through Canvas with the moat emoji on there where they can have you read the stuff on the screen to them. Each kid gets the drag and drop option for the activity rather than the fill in the blank. Each kid gets all of the stuff. Write a list of the things that you normally do based on what your IEP say. You have your arsenal. The stuff that I'm mentioning, that's the stuff that I do most often because that's the stuff that's written in my IEPs most often. Okay? And then thirdly, when it comes to instruction, how you assess them, if they need to do a portion of the worksheet, everybody gets the full worksheet, just theirs is highlighted in green of the ones that they need to do. If they have writing goals, which impede on, now side note, I'm going to try not to do all those tangents, y'all, I promise, but side note, if they have a writing goal, digital is an option, but do not take away the writing in your class period. That's still something that they need to work on. Just right now, when you're trying to measure how well they didn't master this skill, if writing is a barrier, take the barrier out so you can measure how much they've mastered the skill and not how much they can spell or how legible their handwriting is. Make sense? So, sorry, that was a teacher thing. My bad. So, with instruction, where was I going with that? Where was I going? Oh, if they can, if you require it written, give them the option to do it digitally. Give them the option to orally tell you the answers, orally display their mastery to you, and you mark it off on a rubric. If they need a physical representation and you're like, well, they don't have a worksheet, give them the rubric. After you put the grade in, that's the physical representation of the worksheet that everyone else has. Okay. Second thing, behaviors. Behaviors in the classroom. This is another thing where you need to set your class up for what the IEPs say, what works best for the students, but all the kids get it. We're not doing 15 things in 15 different ways, y'all. We're not doing that. That doesn't make any sense. And there's more work on us. Everybody gets all the stuff. One thing, a common corner, a timeout corner, a reset area, whatever you want to call it. Does it have to be as elaborate as what you see in some of these special education classrooms? No. Can it be a desk in the corner of the room because you already got 30 desks up in there? Yes, 100%. But best practice is to have a space in your classroom for the student, any student, to go. I need to take 3 minutes to go away from the area, the environment they're in, into a solitary environment. Have a timer back there. They do their 3 minutes and then they need to rejoin the group. Well, what if they go back there 50 times a class? So the question becomes, are they abusing the Common Corner? Or is there a behavior prevalent that we haven't found the function and therefore haven't fixed the behavior to have them need to use it? Are they actually getting so frustrated or so upset 50 times in the class that they need to go back here for 3 minutes? Why? What's happening? That's a deeper thing. Any student can use it. Any student can use it. And this is not just your special education students. You put expectations on your Common Corner, it works, y'all. It works. Put a timer back there. You don't need all the bells and whistles. It doesn't have to have the beanbag and the tickets and the squishies and like the curtains and all the stuff that you see. If all you can do is a desk in your corner, in the corner of your class, do the desk in your corner of the class. When you are giving your lesson, you have students who have ADHD-like symptoms. They're very hyperactive. They're bipping, they're bouncing, they're tapping. They want to get up and get down. They're busybodies. The one thing you can do is your proximity. Am I standing up the whole class? Absolutely not. I am not. Absolutely not. When I am talking to the class, I am standing up and I am walking around. If I need to come stand by you while I'm continuing talking because Johnny don't know how to be still, then I'm gonna come stand by Johnny, right? If Johnny is tapping on the desk, one, that's not an issue, but it's loud, which makes it a distraction. So he needs a replacement behavior. The tapping is not the issue, guys. The tapping is not the issue. The issue is the distraction, the noise is to the class. He needs something else in his hand where he can do that same motion, but that's quiet. We need to replace that behavior. He doesn't need to stop tapping. He needs to stop being distracting. Okay? If you have a kid and he just won't sit down, is he up beside his desk or up in his area? Depending on your grade level, flexible seating might be an option. If it's not an option, don't do it. If flexible seating is an option, try flexible seating. You need expectations around flexible seating because once one kid starts to get flexible seating, they're all going to want flexible seating. That's just how kids are. There needs to be expectations around that. Well, what I am not saying is what one kid gets, they all get. I'm not saying that. If Johnny is the only one who can use it, then you just need to tell the class, this is for Johnny. He can use this. Why? Because it's his. This is something that he can use. Okay? Are they going to like the answer? No. Oh, well. That's a personal problem. We're moving on. If flexible seating is not an issue, I've had kids in the past where he would get up behind his desk and on the side of his desk, and he would kind of do this back and forth, and like one foot to the next. He would have his pencil in his hand, and he would the pen on his hand like that, right? I let him do it. I moved his desk so that where he was when he stood up, he wasn't blocking anybody's view, because what he was doing is he was actively engaged, actively participating, answering questions, reading the board. And when I grouped them off, it was time for him to do the work. He sat down. Would he be standing the whole class period? No. It was periodically, like up and down, up and down. I let him do it. And I did not make a big deal out of it. And then therefore it wasn't a big deal to the other students. If someone else started standing up because he was doing or they were being extra with it, I need you to sit down. Well, how come he can stand up and I can't stand up? That's not fair. And my exact words to my students is, I'm not about being fair. I'm about giving every kid what they need to succeed. You have a seat. I'm not about being fair. Equity, right? Not equality. If the kid is getting up, zoom, running, no, you need to sit down. Why are you doing this? What's the function of the behavior? The function of any behavior is important. You're not going to fix any behavior without knowing the function of behavior. Well, why are you zooming back and forth? This is not what we're doing. This is disrupting the environment that you're in. You're being a distraction to the other kids. This is not what we're doing. Action. There needs to be you need to find the function. We need to figure out we need to figure out a replacement behavior. We need to interject brain breaks into our classroom routine. When we go out to recess, does he need to be racing and doing some laps instead of walking around or playing the low energy game that he usually does? Something that we can do right now in the classroom is brain breaks. I'm gonna have a brain break every however many minutes. We go this minute, we're having a brain break. I need you to get up. You do the stuff that the guy on the video was telling you to do. My favorite one is Mr. Phonics Man. Phonics Man on YouTube. That's my favorite one. You do the stuff. Now sit. Right? Positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement. I'm not saying you gotta buy and give the kid anything. Okay? You don't have to buy or give the kid anything. You're acknowledging you're doing what I'm asking you to do. Good job. Thank you for doing what I'm asking you to do. Good job for doing what I'm asking you to do. That positive reinforcement. When they're not doing what you're asking them to do, they don't get the positive reinforcement. You give the expectation, you go on about your business. As the behavior continues to escalate, your prompting and the consequences escalate. You need to be consistent. If you don't do the same thing every time, it's not going to work. Nothing's going to work. If you don't do the same thing, guys, I am well aware that instruction doesn't happen when there are behaviors. I know instruction does not happen when there are behaviors. I'm not teaching nothing if I'm putting out fires. Period. I understand that. But if I'm not consistent as the teacher and every time this behavior happens, my response is the same. If this equals a consequence, it equals this consequence each time. If this equals a praise in the beginning, it equals a praise each time. And as those behaviors start to become more intrinsic rather than extrinsic, then we can lay upon the positive reinforcement, right? Don't eliminate the positive reinforcement, but we can lay up off it. But in the beginning, this behavior equals this positive reinforcement. This behavior equals this consequence each time, guys. Each time. Well, what about the kid who is hitting and flipping the desk and he's tearing my room up? That's an administration problem. That's an administration problem. Because we're talking about safety, right? We're talking about safety. We're not talking about the group of kids in the back who need to be separated because they talk too much, right? If he is flipping furniture, cursing, yelling, hitting people, throwing that's a safety issue that needs administration. And I know it's a lot of these days, well, admin doesn't really do anything. We're in an unsafe environment. And I'm sorry. I get it. And it sucks. My perspective is a little different because I'm usually the person they call when the kid starts flipping stuff. That kid's in my class, the kid who's flipping stuff. And I don't call for help. I am the help. So my perspective on that is a little bit different. But once we get to those extremely physically aggressive behaviors, it changes. That's when you need to be calling whoever your BMTs, your redirect officers, your admin, whoever that's outside in to come take this kid to deal with those behaviors. So if they deal with the behaviors and then the kid comes back in the classroom, you need to be consistent. We're not holding grudges, right? However, the kid does need to know what you did hurt me. I didn't like it and it hurt me. Our relationship needs to be built back up. I'm not going to go back to pushing like buddy all in your face because what you did hurt me and it broke the relationship. Say that to them. What you did hurt me and I can't play with you the way I used to because my feelings are hurt. But we can build our relationship back up so that we can get to that point again. It's not, and you ignoring the kid because y'all, we don't like every kid. We don't like every kid. They are annoying. They're irritating, especially that one kid that don't listen and is a pain in your ass. I understand. Sorry, not sorry. Every kid isn't perfect in your class. There's kids that are pains in your ass. And you're like, I'm not going to go sit here and smell at this kid's face when if he did as a human being, if this human being did something to break the relationship with you, there is nothing wrong with telling that human being you broke the relationship and this is what we need to do to repair it. As a child, though, that has to be taught and explained, not just told. You have to explain to him what you mean. That hurt me. So as a result, I don't feel comfortable in playing around and joking with you anymore because my feelings are hurt. Or because I didn't like that. Or because you ruined my stuff and that made me sad. So we have to go this amount of time without you doing that behavior again for me to get comfortable enough to get back to a place where we joke around like that. I'm not, because I didn't like it when you did that. And then you go on about your business with the rest of your students and the rest of your class. When they come back in, we're not shunning them. We're not holding a grudge for 50 days, even though we want to, because the same kid keep on pushing my shit over. I get it. They broke the relationship. This is how we repair it. This is how we fix it. And now we can work on that. And that gives both, because we're humans too. I had a whole lot of feelings about this kid tearing my shit up. Okay. I'm a human too. And this way we both get to have the feelings. Both of our feelings are valid. And this is what we can do to teaching the kid, one, how to repair the relationship and all of that stuff, but the skills that we want them to have as an adult. So when we're talking about behaviors, your systems and your routines, have a schedule on the board, an agenda on the board. That's something proactive we can do that's going to eliminate a lot of the antsiness. Have it connected to a timer. Use Classroom Screen. Use Lesson Launchpad. Those two things cost about $30 a year. I will scream those resources to the rooftops. I say it again. I can link this video. Out of the 3 things I pay for as a teacher, I pay for a Classroom Screen, I pay for Lesson Launchpad, and I pay for Plan Book. Those are the 3 things as a teacher that I pay for. The 3 things. They both, Lesson Launchpad and Classroom Screen, both give you the ability to put your agenda on the screen and then have a timer go off or check it when stuff is done. Have the kids see that is not only research based, but evidence based, personal experience based, that it works. Is you having agendas and timers on your board. It's the visual stuff. I know Classroom Screen has the thing that you put on there when the class gets too loud, it makes a sound. And there's another one called like Bubbles or something that is the same concept. And people's rebuttal is, my class would make the noise just to be able to hear the thing go off. Well, that's a you problem as the teacher. That's a you problem. That you set an expectation and everybody in your classroom does the exact opposite of what you just said. The exact opposite of the expectation you just said. That's a you thing. But if you put up the little bubbly thing and Johnny keeps on yelling in order to get the thing to go up, he's not so entertained by the sound that he just can't make the noise to hear it. That's not it. Is he attention seeking? Is he doing it to piss you off? What's the function of his behavior? And so then we can put the replacement behavior in place. Okay, when we're talking about behaviors, your systems and your routine, put the schedule on the board. Proximity, walk around the room, go stand by Johnny if you need to stand by Johnny. Analyze the behavior. Is him standing by the desk really a big deal? Is he still participating and doing all the stuff? Every student doesn't need everything. And that just goes against, because what I just said before is we're not doing everything 15 different times. Like, do the same thing. I get it. But once we're talking about behaviors, if I can let Johnny stand by the desk, that doesn't mean I have to let Mike, Sally, and Lou stand by the desk too. No, y'all sit down. What did I say? Like, literally, I tell my kids, I'm not about being fair. I'm about giving each kid what they need to succeed. You are capable of having a seat. So sit down. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about you. This is what you're capable of doing. So have a seat. And that's just it. I'm not getting into no deep explanation. I was like, well, we all know how Johnny is. We all know sometimes you know what Johnny can do. We're not doing that. And if the behavior is physically violent, physically aggressive, that's an admin problem and you need support and assistance. And the last thing that we're going to talk about is data collection. Now, when I say data collection, I got 30 kids. And 15 of them have an IEP. I can't do data collection on. You can, and it's expected. This year, our EC is, I think 46 kids. And we're on the low end of the different EC teachers in the district. We're the low end. And I have 46 kids, and I'm expected to do data collection on every single one of them. Yes. So the 15 that you have in your room, I'm expecting you to do the data collection on every one of them. Period. I don't have any sympathy for you not wanting to do it because it's an extra step. No matter how many kids with an IEP you have in your classroom, I have more. And then I'm expected and required to do the data collection, especially if you see the kid more often. Okay? Get you a system. What is my system? I have a QR code. Let me back up. I have a Google form. On the Google form, I have questions related to the specific goal. That Google form is tied to a QR code. The QR code is posted behind me. Well, it's supposed to be posted behind me, but it's floating somewhere on my desk. I take out my phone, I scan it, I drop down the name, I hit yes, no, yes, this 80%, hit submit, it goes into the thing and I move on. That's my data collection. So then when I'm taking that next step and I'm writing the IEP and I'm pulling data, I have all of the stuff that the Google form and the Google Sheets gives me to do that data. You as a teacher, that's something you can use. You can do a binder where you have printed off the goals for each of the students in the classroom. And when you sit there and you physically write, you can have tally check marks. Whatever system works for you, that's what you do for data collection. For me, the QR codes are simple, easy. The Google form makes a chart and everything and pie graphs and all that stuff for me to make it all nice and pretty and make me able to pull the information when I need it. So that when a special education teacher, hey, this is the goal, what do you have on this? You're not giving me one sentence because you got to think back because you really weren't paying attention at that. You have all the data that is necessary. Data is required of you and for me. And then how it also helps me as a special education teacher, is this goal necessary? Have they mastered it? Can we take it off? Can I adjust it to say something different? Are the services too much? Are the services too little? I need data in order to make that decision. And yes, log of observation is a form, like a data point, but it's not the only data point that I can use when I'm changing stuff in the IEP, when I'm adjusting or taking away goals, when I'm adjusting up or down service times. I need data points, samples of the work, different tasks and trials. If you're saying that, you know what, I'm just on Thursdays, because that's what I do. I do different lessons and tests throughout the week, but the tasks I give them on Thursdays are my data collection tasks that I use for progress monitoring. I do that every week. And that task, I walk around, I have my QR code and I scan, I input whatever worksheet that I've given them to see whether they have mastered this trial or not, so that when I go into the data to look, I can count 3 out of 4 trials, count 4. Did they do 3? No. Count 4. Did they do 3? Yes. However that is. I don't do that every day. Do they do assignments and worksheets and lessons and tasks every day? Yeah. But I don't use all of that for data collection. All of that is my observations. My data collection happens on Thursdays. Pick you one day that you're going to do that for all your students. Find whatever way is best for you to have all of the goals that are relevant to you in your class and what you teach. Okay? If you only do math, then don't be having, that's a bad example. If you only do reading, don't be having the math goals on there. Okay? But yeah, we all need to do it. And I have 15 students in my class with an IEP, or I'm a secondary teacher, and out of my 150 students, 50 of them have an IEP. I have more. In whatever situation I'm in, I have more. And then I do the data collection on all of those students. What's your system that you have in place? Okay? Get your system. Do it consistently. That's your data. Okay, so we talked about instruction, we talked about behavior, and we talked about data collection. Those are my tips, tricks, and resources as a special education teacher. Bring me into your classroom. Comment down below. What are your questions? What are the strategies you need, the resources that you need? Hire me as your special education teacher. I am here to help. We all know that there's a lot of students with special education services, not a lot of students who can meet those students with those services. It's not all rocket science. It's like, oh, I haven't been trained, I need a separate degree. In some cases, most of the time, yeah, you need to be trained. You need to be told what to do, but we all can do it. Until next time.